We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather, the Turrbal people of Yuggera land, as well as the Woiwurrung people of the Wurundjeri land. We recognise their continued connection to the land and waters of this beautiful place, and acknowledge that they never ceded sovereignty. We respect all Turrbal and Woiwurrung elders and ancestors, and any First Nations people here today.
I can't take it anymore!
Good afternoon, good evening, good day, and good morning, Blurtstars, wherever you are around the world. You are listening to the new Blurt.
You absolutely are listening to the new Blurt. Good evening to one and all. Tonight I'm coming to you from Wurundjeri country, Kulin nation of the Woiwurrung people. Sovereignty was never ceded, always has been and always will be Aboriginal land. I am the Kexer of the new Blurt. And I thought tonight I'd just do a quick rundown of what we're going to talk about. We're going to have great people that did stuff. We're going to talk about Marcus Aurelius and the meditations. And Wency's going to talk about spray on skin, which will be the inventors of. So that'll be an interesting one. And then after that, we'll have Do Yourself a Favour, which is all about our best podcasts and recommendations that we give to you, Blurtsters, because there's so many fantastic ones, not just us around. So with that, good evening, Wency.
Hello. Before I start, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Yuggera and Turrbal people of the Meanjin Nation, and pay my respect to elders past and present. How goes it?
It goes particularly well, my friend. Really, really good. Yeah, no, really good. Off to New Zealand next week, believe it or not. I know we've only sort of just started, as it were. Actually, no, that is not true. I am not off next week. I am off on the 7th, which is not next week. Yes,
correct.
2 more weeks. I'm getting ahead of myself. Getting
excited by the sounds of it.
Yes. Well, yeah, it should be a bit of fun. It's always a bit of fun. And, yeah, looking forward to it.
You must be racking up the frequent flyer points by now.
Well, to New Zealand anyway.
That's a lot of trips you've done in the last 2 years.
Yeah, no, we have done quite a few. You're right. To New Zealand in particular, you're 100% correct. But enough about my trips and more about some maybe involuntary trips you may be taking, depending on how bad this cyclone is that's hitting the northeast of Australia. Do tell the Blurtsters what's happening that they may not be up there and they don't know.
That's right. So far north Queensland, around the Townsville area, they are about to get hit by cyclone Kirrily. Now, it was a bit...
that's nearly Keely.
Nearly? Yeah, you nearly became famous. So they're forecast to get a Category 2 cyclone tomorrow. It was initially forecast it was going to be a 3, 5 being the highest for cyclones here in Australia. So it's been downgraded, which is good for them. But obviously there's still going to be issues with flooding and storms in the aftermath.
So what would be the difference between a 5 and a 3 category? What would be the what would not be happening in a 3 compared to a 5 level?
So I guess stronger winds. So predicted winds for this one are around about 120 to 140. Category 5, which is where it peters out, would be, I'm guessing, well over 200.
Oh my God! Seriously, wow.
Yeah. So, I was just trying to do a bit of quick research to find out.
Bit of bomb work. Trying to do a bit of bomb work. Yeah, bit of bomb work.
What I can show you is the path that it's going to take. So.
Okay.
If everyone can just.
If you're if you're not joining us live at the moment, and you are watching this on the record, Wency is trying to bring up the bomb chart on the video. Yeah. Obviously, on the audio, you won't see this, but we will have a link to it in the show notes.
Yes,
so you can have
that's right. So hopefully you can see that. Yes, I can see that on our screen. So there's Kirrily at this present moment in the middle of the Pacific, I guess, or is that the Coral Sea? I can never tell where those two end and start. So you can see Townsville.
Yeah.
In the sky. So
It's not good up there. Seriously, I do not know.
where I am. But I'm just going to press play here, and you're going to see how it's going to progress.
Wow. Okay.
I'm just going to pause it there. So
Okay.
that's tomorrow afternoon, evening is the predicted
Right.
hit
Okay.
around the Townsville area. So yes, so they're in the firing line. So, and then the following day on Friday goes inland and gets progressively further away and becomes a storm.
And will that? Do you think there'll be any major repercussions with Brisbane at all?
I know at this early stage they're predicting 50 to 60 mil of rain on the weekend for us in Brisbane. So
that's quite a lot of rain.
It is, and I'm not looking forward to it.
No, 6 centimeters of rain is a lot of rain.
It is, and a lot of members of the family here still suffer a little bit of PTSD from 2 years ago when we got flooded. So not going to be a fun weekend, I must admit, but we'll just stay indoors and try not to look at the outside world.
Yes, well, I mean, I keep doing that now when I look over at America because Orange Head has won another state over there to be representative of the Republican Party. So I think it's going to be another Biden Orange Head election in November.
It's looking like it, isn't it? Because even though Nikki Haley lost, she hasn't stepped away from the race for the Republican nomination, which is good. I'm glad she hasn't given up. I don't know what she can do to make up the 20 or 30% she didn't make up.
The thing is, Wency, that she's never gone hard enough. Like they're so adamant to appease Orange Head, and they don't want to lose those nutbag voters that are voting for Orange Head. I've got to be honest with you. I saw a little clip tonight on CNN, and I think it had like 15 or 20 voters that are going to vote in the South Carolina caucus in the next month, which is the same thing that's just happened in New Hampshire, etc. They just, as you know, they just have stupid ways of doing things in America. Anyway, of picking their people and whatever. Anyway, these 20-odd people, I've got to be honest with you, they all seem to be educated. They seem to have had quite a good form of education. And of those 20 people, there were still complete nutbags there that were going to vote for Trump.
Yeah. That's amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing. If you're educated, there's absolutely, there's difference between having a difference of opinion and actually seeing and hearing factual evidence that it's come out of someone's mouth and it's gone through the courts. And you're educated. It's like I just don't understand how you can stick with that decision. I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. I tell you the other thing I don't get. I don't get robots. And apparently, yes, robots. Apparently, BMW are going to be introducing them. So, manufacturing. BMW is partnered with a California company called Figure to introduce humanoid robots into their manufacturing plants, and the robots are capable of walking on two legs and using 5-fingered hands to assemble machines. So they're not even going to have thumbs; they're going to have 5-fingered hands, which is interesting. Yeah, well, this is the first time autonomous human-shaped robots will be used on assembly lines, and the agreement between Figure and BMW involves a milestone-based approach for the deployment of humanoid robots. According to Figure's CEO, the robots can do basically everything that a human can do, apart from obviously have emotions. So the introduction of robots in car production could make productivity more efficient, allow the team to focus on the transformation ahead, and sack a heap of people and not have to worry about unions. So they'll be wrapped with that. I'll tell you another thing about BMW too. They have a option, and this is hilarious. So in their EVs, right, in the BMW EV, they have an option. It's because all their stuff is subscription model. It's a subscription model.
That's the way of the future.
Absolutely, it's the way of the future. So this subscription model says if you want your BMW to sound like a BMW, you subscribe to this thing, and it basically means you can push a button in your car, and all of a sudden your EV makes a noise like a petrol car,
like a petrol engine. Ugh. Oh dear, the things people
you're like,
are willing to pay for.
I know, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
But I bet with all the technology and the robots replacing humans again, because we've already seen that on the assembly line. I bet you it's not going to decrease the price of any vehicle. If anything, it'll go up.
Yeah, look, I think you're 100% correct, and obviously it doesn't stand to reason at all that it should. But one thing I will say though is that Beamers and Mercs and these sort of things in Europe, they're not stupidly expensive.
No.
I mean, they're still not what I call cheap, but they're not stupidly expensive. Whereas because of the luxury tax that gets smashed on them out here, they turn into a full-on, luxury vehicle. Only, Richies run around in them, basically. So
yeah, exactly.
But one thing also about that is I haven't seen, and I could be totally wrong, but I have not seen a Mercedes EV model yet. Have you seen any of those come up?
I don't think I've heard of it. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I'm not aware of one, but yeah,
I know the other ones like Beamer and Audi, etc., and VW. They've all got EVs, but I haven't heard of the Merc EV, which is interesting.
Ford's done them. General Motors have them. Volvo has them. Mazda, I'm not sure if Mazda have them.
Is Mazda still around?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh right. Oh okay. All right.
Definitely around.
It's funny. I think of Mazda and I just think of such an old brand, and I just always remember the Magic Mazda ad, years ago.
No, I don't know that
Magic Mazda. It was like 1970s or something, 80s or whatever it was.
Yeah,
but
to me, it's almost a boomer car. I've always imagined older people driving Mazdas. I don't know why.
Well, not the RX-7. That's what I used to always like when I was younger.
Oh yeah, the good old rotary engine.
Yeah, the rotary engine. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But actually, talking about rotary and things going around, you were going to have a chat about the Oscars.
Yes, it's come around already. We've got Oscar coming up soon, but the nominations have come out, and the usual ones. Oppenheimer's got a few, the big ones. Barbie got a few, but the big controversy of all this is the so Barbie got Best Picture nomination as well as Oppenheimer and a bunch of others. Killers of the Flower Moon, which I think might get it. Not that I've seen it, just a prediction. But you
haven't had a spare 3 hours to spend.
No, not yet. No, I might have to watch that followed by Napoleon when it comes out, because I believe that's 4 hours. So there's a working day gone.
Well, I can tell you right now, someone very close to me just went and saw Napoleon and Killers of the Flower Moon, and they would say, keep your sleeping time to yourself.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
But, well, I'm a big Scorsese fan, so I do want to see Killers of the Flower Moon. And I love Leonardo DiCaprio, and I love De Niro. So I know, in my own mind, I believe it'll be a really, really good.
It should be a good movie, yeah.
I mean, Scorsese did another 3-hour movie a couple of years ago where De Niro gradually got older through the movie. They used the technology of the aging technology of when you can be 40 odd and then going through to be 90 if you like, or whatever it is. I can't remember for the life of me what the movie was called, but I watched it over 3 sittings because it was 3 hours. And it was on Netflix. It came straight. You could see it on both, but it went to Netflix at the same time. Scorsese wasn't happy about it, but and because he, thinks that things should definitely be seen in the movie. But no, I definitely want to see Killers Flower Moon. But 3 hours. You got to find 3 hours.
Yeah. It's on Apple TV, I think now, or coming very soon. So if you've got access to that, you can watch it.
I watched the actual real story of the Osage Indians this morning. There's a documentary, you can see it on YouTube, and it is incredibly tragic. And I can understand why they made a movie out of it. It really is movie worthy. It's terrible situation.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, sorry, I apologize. I digressed too much there, and you were talking about the Oscars. So
that's what this show's all about. Just informing and chatting about whatever. But yes, the Oscars. The big movies of last year was obviously Barbie and Oppenheimer. We all remember. What was it? The Barbenheimer.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Barbenheimer memes and all that stuff. So, two biggest movies. Barbie grossed well over $1 billion, and I think Oppenheimer was pretty close to $1 billion.
Yeah, I think it was in the end. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. In America, I think Barbie was double the takings of Oppenheimer, but worldwide, Oppenheimer caught up. But the biggest controversy of all is that neither of the leading ladies in Barbie, Greta Gerwig, the director, and Margot Robbie, as leading actor or actress, were nominated for their respective roles. So Ryan Reynolds, no, not Ryan Reynolds, Ryan Gosling. I always get those two confused, the two Ryans. So Ryan Gosling got a nomination for Best Supporting Actor for Barbie. So he was happy, but also very disappointed that Margot Robbie and Greta didn't get their nod. So very, very disappointing.
America Ferrera got nomination for Best Supporting Actress as well. And I got to be honest. I mean, I've seen Barbie. I've got to be honest. I don't think that Margot Robbie did deserve a nod for that. That I don't believe. I think there's far better roles and actresses doing those roles for Best Actress. But America Ferrera, for me, stole the show when it came to the women in that movie, and she's been nominated for Best Support. But I also thought, and I said this at the time as well, I thought Ryan Gosling was really good. And I really enjoyed his portrayal there. And there was another supporting actress. That was the one. But I was trying to think who the lead. Do you have any information there on who the best actress nominations are?
Yeah, they would be Annette Bening for Naiad.
I'll watch anything that lady's in. She's very good, actually. I like her. I like Annette Bening.
Yeah, she's been around for a long time. I can't remember the movie
she has
in the 80s or 90s. Can't remember. With Warren Beatty.
Oh, yeah. I can't. Was that Dick Tracy?
Maybe. Yeah, possibly.
Madonna was in that as well. But Annette Bening's done heaps and heaps of stuff.
Yeah, great actress.
She is. I will say we were watching another film the other night that she was in. It was called 20th Century Women. If you come across that anywhere, just keep going.
Yep. Okay. Oh, don't watch it.
Yeah, don't watch it.
Okay. I thought you were going to say it's a standout movie that we'll watch it and I'll put it. I'll review it on our next.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Right.
We got about 40 minutes in and we just looked at each other going, "Are we going to keep going? Are we going to keep going?"
All right, it's time to start flicking through the next show. What are we watching then?
Well, we knew where we wanted to go, so because we're watching a series called Bodies on Netflix at the moment, which is pretty sensational. So we'll talk about that when we do What's on the Box. Yeah.
Oh, anyway, we're watching Raising Dion at the moment on Netflix. So yes, that'll be on on my review list.
Have you talked about that one before?
No.
And
we've only just started watching it.
That's a cracker.
It is. Yeah, we'll find out all about it.
Beautiful.
soon.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, so actress in a leading role with Annette Bening, got sidetracked again. Lily
Yes.
Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall, Carey
Yes.
Mulligan for Maestro, and Emma Stone for Poor Things. I have not seen
Yes.
any of those movies.
No, well, I know the Emma Stone one is absolutely full on, and I love Emma Stone as a actress, and I know the role that she's doing it's just off the charts. Poor Things. I've seen the trailer, and I've heard people that have seen it. It's not really my type of movie, and I know that her acting ability in that role is pretty outstanding. So that's
Nice.
a pretty good nomination. That one definitely. And so there was another one there too. What was the other one?
Sandra Hüller, Anatomy of a Fall.
Yeah. See, I don't even know. See, I think that was nominated as best movie too, and I don't even know what that movie is.
Yeah, no, I've never heard of it.
No,
Yep.
which is really,
you're right.
really
Best
interesting.
Picture nomination.
Yeah, and never even heard of it. So it's just like,
there you go.
Yeah. Hey, if you can see it, have you got any of the best animations there?
Yes.
Nominations?
Best animation, back at the top of the page, was animated feature film. I really hope this one wins because I loved it. The Boy and the Heron.
You've already seen it?
Yeah, seen that. Studio Ghibli. Next is Elemental. That's a Pixar movie.
Oh, okay.
Nimona, I haven't seen. I'm guessing that might be another Pixar movie.
I'll have
Robot
to look
Dreams,
at the trailers.
never heard of.
No.
And Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which I have seen and actually enjoyed. So
okay. And so between the Heron and the Spider, which one for you?
The Heron, Boy and the Heron. I just love Studio Ghibli and that style. So yeah, definitely.
Excellent. Well, I thought after talking about some pretty interesting stuff that I would bring the mood down for a second.
Oh,
You know me. Too many good things can't last for too long on this
the
show.
yin and yang.
Exactly right. So I just thought I might just mention the old C word, which is not that C word, COVID. Yes, exactly right. So I was reading an article the other day, and it's been interesting because the Congress in America have been banging on for the longest time, the Republican side of the Congress in particular, and sort of right-wing pundits over there, that it was a medical experiment gone wrong, and it escaped the lab in China, in Wuhan, and they were trying to recover the sort of genetic code sequence before it until it started multiplying into people, as it were. But the interesting thing about this is that I'm still not 100% sure if it did come from a lab or if it did come from a bat. But even if it did come from a lab and then into a bat, however it occurred, the fact is that the genetic code submitted in December 2019, the US database missed the critical virus, revealing the system flaws. So in December 2019, we only found out as a world in early January 2020 that this thing was particularly terrible. And the only reason we found that out is because a Chinese scientist and an Australian scientist got together. They got the code that had already been sent to America, and then Orange Head sat on it and did nothing at all with it. And then they put it out to the world and said, "This is deep shit. We need to do something about this." And then the world got on board, and then things actually started to happen. So what my point is that you've got the Congress in America blaming the Chinese and go, okay, that's fair enough. But you knew in December 2019,
the code.
You didn't do fuck all about it, and millions of people didn't need to die if you actually took action at the time. and didn't do anything about it. So I find that really, really interesting. And the key genetic code delayed 2 weeks before the global sharing, hindering the timely test and vaccine development. US database couldn't verify or publish the genetic code, and it was deleted due to lack of response, i.e. they're getting nothing out of their administration because Trump's such an idiot. Skepticism grows over China's claim of prompt virus code sharing. I mean, even the Chinese scientists at the time said that was not the case. So trust issues impact cooperation. Proposals to enhance genetic databases, automate scanning for threats, and improve global health response. That's what they're looking at going forwards, etc. So although that is a crap story, it looks like hopefully there's a bit of a good ending to it that if, unfortunately, God forbid we go through another something like this. It is interesting, though. I haven't really heard it said very much, but in America, they have this term called scamdemic. And it's interesting. Yeah.
Never heard of that one.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. They're all your sort of QAnon nut jobs and MAGA supporters, etc. But you're just like, no, I'm hearing you, but I'm just like, wow, really? You thought millions of people died and the whole thing was a scam? Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
You live that way. I don't know how you do, but
I'm with you, my friend. I don't get it at all. So, I think with that, my friend, we might crack on with a bit of great people that did stuff. What do you reckon?
Yes, sounds good.
Okay, let's do that then.
Not hearing anything at the moment.
Okay, let's try that again then. Do we have to do that again?
Yep.
Hey, this is Hannah Melville Ray from the Australia Institute. I'm listening to the new Blurt with Wency and the Kegsta, and you should be too. It's on Tuesday nights, live from around 8 p.m.
When you give blood, you're more than just a blood donor. You're the lifeblood of Australia. Search Give Blood and book your donation with Australian Red Cross Lifeblood today. Give life. Give blood.
Hi, and welcome to Great People That Did Stuff.
Over to you and your skin, whence I.
Ooh. Let's do some spraying. Okay. All right. So I'm going to talk about spray on skin. So what this is all about is a nice Aussie invention that helps burn victims. So previous to...
hold on. You're telling me they invented something to burn victims?
Yes, correct. No, to help burn victims.
I gotta say that sounds pretty terrible.
Great Aussie invention. Let's burn some more victims. Yes, so apologies. So yes, so previously when burn victims lost skin, they do skin graft, but the downside to skin grafts was so that grab skin from the person somewhere else on the person's body, grafted on their burn, and it didn't have the desired results. It had issues with it. So two ladies from Perth, or Australia, in Australia, Marie Stoner and Fiona Wood, they co-invented the spray on skin, which was a revolutionary treatment for burn victims. It was a technique that allowed new skin to be grown directly onto the burn wound, which reduced healing time and scarring compared to the skin grafts. So So skin grafts was the traditional way of doing it. It was painful for the patient. Took time to get on and removed from certain parts of the body, and it also left scars. So with this new design or invention, what they did was they grow the skin cell in a laboratory from a small biopsy piece from the patient, from a healthy part of the body. And as it grows, they took some years to develop, but they were able to use certain chemicals to increase the speed of the skin growth in the lab. And then what they did was using different techniques, spraying, or even just like a brush. They experimented with different methods, but they worked out that they needed a special nozzle, which they invented, where they basically got the skin that was grown in the lab, pushed it through the nozzle, and literally sprayed it on, like what you do with painting, onto your burnt skin. What this meant was that there was faster healing. It helped heal burns in as little as 5 days compared to weeks or months. It reduced the scarring as well.
What year was this, Wency, that it was invented?
Mid-90s. So it took a good 5 to 10 years process before that to develop. And 1995 or thereabouts was when it became a viable product. Still not many patients at that time to be able to use and I wouldn't say experiment, but to do clinical trials. The 2002 Bali bombings was a big incident of burn victims at the time, and these two doctors ended up doing trials and tests on those burn victims. It wasn't a clinical trial, and so they didn't get a lot of recognition from fellow doctors at the time. So because it wasn't a proper trial, but the results proved that the healing of the burn victims was so good that it quickly became accepted, and then commercialized.
Was it controversial, like by other doctors? Were there other sort of parts of the medical establishment that weren't happy with them trying these things, or
more so in the process? So, as you know, we were talking about COVID and vaccines and things like that. Any medical inventions go through a rigorous trial over years generally to make sure it's safe on humans and there's no effects and things like that. Drugs, vaccines, things like skin grafts or the spray on skin. So because in 2002 they hadn't gone through all that rigorous testing yet, but they used it anyway, that's why they got a bit of the backlash. So great little invention by some Aussie doctors.
Have you got their names there? They definitely
I do,
deserve to be named.
Yeah, I thought I did mention them earlier, but it was Marie Stoner and Fiona Wood. They co-invented, so they worked together to create that.
That is absolutely fascinating and magnificent, and it's we're behind something, and that's not, I'm not saying, because they're women, men, blah blah. I just mean it's great that instead of the history always showing men doing something, because the history books is actually full of men doing something with women right next to them doing it, but not getting any of the credit for it.
Yeah, Oppenheimer. Go watch that, and you'll see.
Exactly right. Yeah, classic example. Example. And there's and that's the same with Black history as well. I mean, internationally, not just in America. So
the other thing I forgot to mention, Fiona Wood.
Yes, I've heard of her before.
It's probably because in 2005, so 3 years after the Bali bombings, she got the Australian of the Year award.
That would be why.
So that's probably why you've heard it.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, that's brilliant. And have they had any other technological breakthroughs or improvements of that skin? Like, are they still working on the whole sort of implementation of that on burn victims now, or are they like as far as they need to be, or is it working exactly as they need, or is it there's sort of any tweaks that they can make to what they have? Or
good question. I'm not sure. I probably need to dig in a bit more to see how it's been done now. But the patent
would that be homework?
It could be homework. Yes, I think I'm hearing homework. Yeah. So Resell was the RECELL was the product that they called it.
Yes. Again, I've heard of that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like all things, I'm sure it's developed over the years, and it's been 20 years since it was commercialized. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it's improved. And yeah, so homework for me. Thank you, sir.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, and what's that letter we need to hit so we can?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Done.
Yeah. Good. Excellent. So I'll just talk to you next time. I'll just say press the letter, because I don't know what it is. Yeah, I don't know what it is. That was excellent. Fantastic. Thank you, Wency. I'm going to talk about Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. Now, you may know or you may not know who Marcus Aurelius is. He was an emperor of the Roman
Empire.
In Roman history. He's one of many. Yes, of the Roman Empire. I think there was something like in 12 months. I think there was 7 emperors. I think back in the 1200s or 1100s or whatever it was. They were just knocking them off like they were going out of fashion. I mean, the fact you wanted to be an emperor, you had to be a bit of a numbskull. But Marcus Aurelius was definitely not a numbskull at all, and he actually has been he's sort of been said to say that he's the poster child, if you like, want of a better phrase, of philosophy and the way that we do sort of therapy and meditation and all that sort of stuff, which isn't completely known by Marcus Aurelius. So he stepped in to automatically fill the role of emperor or imperator Caesar Marcus Aurelius Antoninus Augustus. And his own insistence, however, his adoptive brother was that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So at his own insistence, however, his adoptive brother was made co-emperor with him and henceforth the name Imperator Caesar Lucius Aurelius Verus Augustus. There's no evidence that Lucius Verus had much of following. So a ruthless rival could have easily have disposed of him. As I was saying, there's a lot of disposing of emperors at that time. But the first time in history, the Roman Empire had 2 joint emperors of formerly equal constitutional status and powers. I would love to get the years on this. I really should have the years, but this is an incredibly huge document. So Marcus Aurelius was born April 26, 121 CE. CE means common era, and it is interchanged with AD.
Okay,
so we are talking 2,000 years ago. We're basically, it was a golden age of the Roman Empire. And so now we've got the history in there. We've got the years, which is good. There's a couple of things. Okay. In 161 Syria, that's 161 CE, obviously, was invaded by the Parthians, a major power to the east. And he was the emperor at this stage. The overrunning of Armenia and Mesopotamia was the work of subordinate generals, notably Gaius Avidius Cassius. The returning armies brought back with them the plague, which is always nice.
Nice little
So yeah,
present.
they had COVID back then too. Which, yeah, exactly right. Which raged throughout the empire for many years, and together with the German invasion, fostered a weakening of morale in minds accustomed to stability and apparent immutability of Rome and its empire. And I'll just digress for 1 second on that. We talked about bringing back the plague. I read a book a little while ago. It was something along the lines of I can't remember what the name of it, but it was something 40 million murdered or 40 billion murdered and more to come, or something along those lines.
Wow.
And what it was basically the history of the mosquito throughout history and throughout wars in particular. And as you could probably imagine, if you're a sort of like a Western army going into an African province or something, and they have their tolerances to all the local mosquitoes and all the local diseases, etc. You don't have any, and the mosquito comes along and just kills half of your army. It's a good way to win
so
the war.
little, but yet so strong.
Yes, it has. It has killed so many millions of people. So yeah. Just phenomenal. Just phenomenal.
Did you say?
But anyway, 3 years of fighting was still needed with Marcus in the thick of it. I think it's 40 billion, but I can't remember.
Wow,
no, but 40 million. We've only got 7 billion now, so 40 million.
Well, over history,
I imagine. Yeah. But I can't remember what it's called, but it was a big mother of a book. Like it was a big 700 pager, 800 pages or something. And I didn't get all the way through it. To be honest with you, I was getting really depressed, so I couldn't read it anymore. So many people were dying of all these different things, and I was just like, oh no, I can't do this. I just can't do it. And plus, I had to go back to the library, and I hadn't renewed it. So there you go. Anyway, now we talked about, just for a little bit before, I talked about the meditations of Marcus Aurelius, and this is definitely what he's been known for now, especially in modern day when it comes to our therapy and philosophy of, and his influences, etc. So he used meditations. He wrote. It was a big sort of a Stoic philosophy, if you like, called Meditations. And it was all about himself for challenging his responsibilities during his reign. And he had like modern perspective as for the time. He would sort of think about more emotional ways of dealing with sort of practical issues rather than just sort of a head answer, if you know what I mean. He would actually
rather than kill the next emperor. Yeah,
he'd engage his heart and sort of work out what's happening, and he sort of set morals and ethics, if you like, which, as you can imagine, back then they didn't have a lot of. Marcus set unattainable moral goals, contemplated the transient nature of life, and there was also the principles included viewing the cosmos as a unified system governed by intelligence. His ideas aligned with leaning towards Platonism, which obviously is Plato, and he, I believe, was like the mother of all philosophers, wasn't he? Plato, I believe.
Plato?
Yeah.
Plato?
Yeah, Plato.
The mother or the father? The father.
The father of all, but I don't think they say father of all as a
in the mother of all.
Yeah. But you would be more technically correct, yes. Despite his deviations, Marcus did not embrace any form of survival. After death, the Meditations have been hailed as one of the great books influencing generations of Stoic wisdom. So he faced rebellions, invasions in Egypt and Spain and Britain while securing his frontiers, and he declared himself emperor in 175, but was assassinated. Vidius Cassius, which was his brother, declared himself emperor in 175, but was assassinated, allowing Marcus to restore order. As I say, so many emperors just died, and one of the biggest reasons is because they just stepped up and went, "Oh, I'm going to be emperor," and the other dude went, "No, you're not."
Sounds like our Prime Ministership here in Australia a decade ago. It's just a rotating door
Yes,
of PMs.
very, very true. But they were metaphorical swords in the back. These were
literal.
physical. These were absolutely literal. So in 177 CE, Marcus declared his 16-year-old son, Commodus Joint Emperor. They resumed the Danubian Wars with a focus on offensive strategies and expanding Rome's boundaries. Marcus died in 180. So apparently he was born in 121, I think we said.
Yeah,
so 121. Geez, that's not bad.
59
Yeah.
years.
And he was an
Not bad for
emperor.
for that time.
God, that's like 100, especially being an emperor. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously. But anyway, I'll wrap this up because we've got a little bit to get through. Marcus's reign, marked by challenges and stoic resilience, contributes to the historical understanding of Rome. The philosophical impact of Marcus's writings transcend his era, resonating with the diverse audiences over time. I'll have a link in the show notes to the meditations. You can actually read it online, and it's interesting. I saw a few quotes from, and people still pull out quotes from Marcus Aurelius now, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Fascinating.
There you go. Yes, a little bit of history. So I think, Wency, we might just do a quick break, quick back, get in to do yourself a favour and wrap up the show. What do you reckon?
All right, sounds good.
Excellent. Let's do that.
The Australia Institute produces high-quality research that has real-world impact, whether it's revealing the $10.3 billion in fossil fuel subsidies provided by federal and state governments last year, or our long-standing research advocating for a federal anti-corruption commission with real teeth. We change minds. To donate, head on over to australiainstitute.org.au.
You're listening to The New Blood with Wency and the Kegstar. Next up, do yourself a favour.
Hello. We are talking Do Yourself a Favour. If this is one of the first times you've been with us on the New Blurt, Do Yourself a Favour is all about the best podcasts. We used to say best and worst, but there's never any worst, so there's no point saying worst anymore.
And it's the best that we listen to.
Correct, 100%. So what I want to talk about, I actually wanted to revisit the podcast that Wency's spoken about on this show before. And that podcast is The Imperfects. And the host of that show is Ryan Shelton, Hugh Van Cuylenberg, and Josh Van Cuylenberg. Hugh is, I think he's CEO, or at least the director of the Resilience Project. And that is a pretty interesting task. Hugh himself does quite a lot of talks and presentations on the Resilience Project. And that's all about, I believe when he grew up, he had a sister that suffered from eating anxieties and eating disorders. So I think she had bulimia, anorexia nervosa / it was pretty bad. And I think through that he has learned a lot about himself, and he obviously did a lot of searching to work out how he could support his sister, et cetera, and I think through all of that came the Resilience Project. And through the Resilience Project comes the Imperfects. And Wency, as I said, has talked about the Imperfects before. But the reason I wanted to revisit it is because, honestly to God, it is just such a brilliant podcast. I have been devouring so many episodes over the Christmas period and now. And the thing is, there's some that are just absolutely life-changing. I've got 3 off the top of my head that we haven't spoken about on the show before, and we'll talk about them now, but not in length. There's one called Gina Chick, and Gina Chick won she won a competition on SBS called Alone, and it was all about being alone and surviving in the wild, etc. Gina Chick is a force of nature. If you are going to listen to a podcast, do listen to the Imperfects and do listen to Gina Chick. She will change your life.
Okay.
The podcast itself is in Tasmania at the time, and they are getting hammered by rain and hammered by wind, and they do not go inside. And if you listen to the podcast, you understand why. And Gina Chick's off the chain. She's absolutely unbelievable. So that one, absolutely, I highly recommend that episode. And the other episode is Claire Bowditch. As soon as I listened to the Claire Bowditch episode, I went out, got a book. I read a book. Sensational. Loved it. And
her book.
Her book. Yeah, it's called, I think it's called something to do to be my own girl or something along those lines. But we'll definitely have the link in the show notes for it. And that is a really, really good podcast as
Your
well.
Own Kind of Girl.
There you go. Your Own Kind of Girl. And that's what the book's called as well. And there is a song called Your Own Kind of Girl. And I might even put the link to the YouTube clip because it's a pretty good YouTube clip. So anyway, those two with the Imperfects, I mean, as Wency said before, they've been doing it for a while, and they've done a lot with a lot of really interesting people. But those two absolutely stand out for me. There is another cracker I listened to a while ago with Tim Minchin. That's a bit of fun, and it's interesting as well. But those two in particular, they really make you think a lot. And the Gina Chick one just totally blew me away. And so I just wanted to revisit that one. Another two really quickly, Hardcore History. And it's called Hardcore History because these things go for 5 hours.
That is hardcore. Jeez. I'm happy to watch Napoleon now. It's only 4 hours. Jeez,
I know. Tell me about it. I to tell you, I haven't done 5 hours.
Okay.
I've been listening, and I've sort of just have it on in the background because I'm assuming because he's doing 5 hours, I'm assuming it's not weekly. I'm gonna have to have a look at it, but yeah, I'll have to listen to that over quite a few periods because that's a long time. But the guy is good with his delivery, and it's quite interesting. This particular time he was talking about slavery, but he makes you think about it in a different way. To the way you would normally just go, no, it's wrong. And that is exactly how I feel. No, it's wrong. And it's interesting when he starts talking about all the different kinds of slaves and what we call slavery and what is still modern slavery now, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, this particular episode, that's what that one's about. And the other one I just wanted to mention is another one coming out of the Australia Institute. It's called Dollars and Cents. And as Wency has talked about on the show before, Follow the Money is a Australia Institute potty, which is a cracker. This one is its sort of sister podcast called Dollars and Cents with Greg Jericho. He's economist from the Australia Institute. And he's really good with delivery. It's not long. It only normally goes for about 20, 30 minutes or something. Really, really easy to digest. And just interesting. If you're at all interested in economics and you just want to know how the world's turning a little bit, it's good.
Sounds interesting.
It is. It's good. I really started enjoying it. So, that's my little bit tonight.
Oh, nice. I'm going to listen to a few of those. Not sure about the Hardcore History, 6 hour long. They do have short ones that go for about 3.5. So start with those maybe. Oh dear. Okay. I've got a couple to talk about today. First one is the Squiz Today. It's a short daily news podcast released every day. It is hosted by Alice Dempster and Claire Kimball. Most episodes are around about 10 minutes long and pretty much cover the headline stories of the day, and they go into a little bit more detail than what you'd listen to on a radio station when they do the news coverage that only runs for 1 or 2 minutes. So, and then they only ever talk about 2 or 3, maybe 4 subject topics at once. They do have a extended episode called the Shortcuts, Your Shortcut 2. There was one that was on the 22nd where it was called Your Shortcut to the Business of Tennis. And that one,
right.
Yeah, so it goes, because it's tennis season in Australia at the moment with the Australian Open going on at the moment in Melbourne. They talk about, the history of tennis and how it came to be and how it works now. For example, did you know that the Australian Open hadn't always been played in Melbourne?
In Melbourne or in Victoria?
Yeah. So the Australian Open, that hasn't always been set in Melbourne. So the tournament actually started in 1905 as the Australasian Championship.
Oh.
So it started off in Melbourne, but during the course of the next 50 years, I think it was, or so, it changed around. So it was played in Melbourne 66 times, Sydney 17 times, Adelaide 15 times, Brisbane 7 times, Perth 3 times. And because it was Australasian, they also played a tournament in Christchurch in 1906 and Hastings in New Zealand 1912. So they go into a little bit more details.
Kidding. Oh, wow. That's very cool.
Yeah, so it's quite fascinating. They also talked a couple of weeks ago about Nikki Haley and the Republican primaries. They go into a bit more detail of how that works in America. If you're short on time, you're traveling on the bus, train, public transport to work, 10 or 15 minutes is easily doable. So
sounds like a perfect one. And segue to that, I think we'll do Party in the USA next week, actually.
Okay, sounds good. Speaking of the USA, my next podcast is called Am I an Arsehole? That's right. That's what it's called.
Well, if you are, that doesn't sound American, because they would say, "Am I an asshole?"
An asshole. Yes, exactly right. So this is an Aussie asshole. So it's spelt the correct way. It's a confession sub podcast. I'm calling it a sub podcast. So every second week, Sammy Peterson, who's the host of this podcast, releases the Am I the Arsehole podcast. This podcast
is he a comedian or?
He is a comedian. I've never heard of him, but he's obviously a comedian, and he knows a lot of comedians. So the premise of the podcast is he gets special guests coming in, like Jen Fricker, Charlie Clausen, who you might know from Top Op.
Tofop.
With Tofop,
Will.
sorry.
Yeah.
With Will Anderson. So Josh Earl, another comedian, and many others.
Yes.
Celia Piccola, I think, has been on it. But yes, each episode, it talks to the guest for a good 10, 15 minutes, just what they're doing, shows and stuff like that. But then the meaty part of the show is he looks at Reddit stories where someone has posted some sort of story, and then Sammy will ask, "Am I the arsehole?" So, for example.
Yes, I think an example is needed here.
Yes. So there's one Reddit story he talked about where in the US at a college dorm, this Reddit user tells the story of having a party in their dorm. One of the party goers asks that Reddit user if he had been circumcised. The Reddit user replied, or was shocked and surprised by the question, and he responded back to her, "What's your pubic hair situation?" So then Sammy asks the guest, in this case was Jen Fricker, "Do you think he was the arsehole or was he not an arsehole?" So then they just talk about the whys and hows, and was he an arsehole for asking that question? And they go to many other stories.
So there's sort of a pretense to have a sort of a bit of a theme and a bit of a bit of something to sort of chat about, but it sounds more than anything, it's sort of got a comedic bent to it.
Yes, definitely. So, and they'll go through maybe 3, 4 to 6 or more little stories because the shows are about 40 minutes long.
Yeah.
And so they go through lots of little scenarios that they've found on Reddit. And so that gets released every 2 weeks. So quite funny.
All right. And how did you come across it?
I was just looking on Spotify for podcasts to listen to a few weeks ago and went, oh yeah, that sounds good. I like the title. Am I the Arsehole? So I had to listen to it. So
well, is that the same reason you listen to Half-Assed History? Anything with an arse in it?
I love arse. So what's next on the show?
That's a promo. That's a promo for next week. For sure.
Oh, shit. What have I got myself into?
I like that. I love arse. Oh shit. That's very good. Nice. Excellent. Fantastic. That's awesome. Fantastic. No, they're really cool. I'll pop those down and I'll make sure they go on my list, my ever-growing list.
Yes.
No, always good. Really, really interesting. Fantastic. All right, people. That is your show for tonight. Thank you for joining us. If you've listened on the pod and if you're viewing at YouTube at some stage, if you were live with us at any stage tonight, thank you very much as well. Yeah. We're moving pretty well this year when it comes to people having a look at the show. So, tell your friends, get them to have a listen. Oh, the latest potty that's out at the moment is the interview with Dan Illick that Wency and I did last week, which was a really good one. A bit of fun, that one.
Yeah, a lot of fun. He's always fun.
He is always fun. And his show, the Millions Download show, is on in Melbourne on the 1st of February at the Malthouse Theatre. We will have the links in the show notes until it's time. Yeah. So if you want to get a ticket, you should be able to still because it's a pretty big theatre, I believe. But really, really, really good guests on his show with Sammy Shah and Richard Feidler, Kirsty Wiebeck, and Charlie Pickering.
And guest starring Lewis Hobber.
Oh yes, with his little baby Olive on the Zoom. So that should be a bit of fun. That should be very good. Be fun. So until next week, once have
fun.
Yes,
Stay safe.
Next week we will probably come back to you on a Tuesday instead of a Wednesday.
Correct.
But it was my birthday yesterday, so we went out. No, we didn't even get to talk about that, but unfortunately, there you go. But that's all right.
Happy 21st.
Yes, thank you very much. You can see the nice grey hairs for the 21 coming in, so that's good. That's excellent. All right, people. Good night. Thank you very much. We will see you soon. See you, Wency.
All right. See ya. Bye.